talking about state of game dev today. We were
Sure.
just kind of going back and forth on this a little bit, but yeah, what do you see out there in game dev?
What I see is really scary. I think I'm not the only one who's observing a really aggressive and rapid consolidation. I'm seeing fewer bets made. I'm seeing fewer games teams out there making games. I think a lot of this has to do with, I think some of the topics that we're going to get into lately, where um, I think a lot of publishers are experiencing the pain of some of the bad bets that they've made and some of the bad investments that they've made.
Mm.
And I think, lots of rank and file game developers are paying the price for that. But yeah, it's pretty dire out there, I'd have to say, especially as someone who, like myself, is really bullish on new games development personally as a games developer myself. I like making new games. I like bringing new games to market. So it's exciting to me when I see a lot of investment in new games development, and it's sad for me when it's not there.
You said that you're seeing fewer game teams, and it struck me when you said that because one, I agree, and simultaneously more games than ever are being made. It's an interesting paradox there. It's not actually, but yeah, curious your thoughts on that as the number of games in the market just seems to go up and up and up and up.
Yeah, it is. I think it does sort of strike you as a paradox, especially when you consider when you look. Listen, I'm on LinkedIn all the time, and I don't know what your feed looks like, but mine is inundated with just discourse about people who struggle to find work.
Yeah,
People who are at
yeah,
some of the biggest, most successful games companies in our industry who suddenly found themselves their projects and their teams being cut. And I think in any other normal gaming environment where those folks would have been able to turn around and find a job fairly easily because these are some of the most talented folks in our industry, they're really struggling.
hmm
It is a difficult paradox. Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's dive into the main topic here, which is prototyping games. I pinged you. You wrote a really cool article.
Thank you.
And I loved how I think you brought the product thinking perspective with that article. And it was about, hey, where should you go if you're thinking about making a game? And it was almost like this, look, you could go anywhere. Hey, I've assembled a small team, whether we're an indie or whether we've got some seed funding or wherever we are. Maybe we're an R&D in a giant, corporate company somewhere. There's always this question, which is like, well, where are you trying to go? And yes, you would acknowledge that there might be external factors that would impact that. Like maybe there's a directive you have to follow if you're in that bigger corporate company. But you gave 3 criteria. If you want, I can just read them off real quick.
Sure. Yeah.
Or if you want to, I'll let you state them. But yeah.
No, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And I thought these were really cool. So, the first, you want to go in opportunity spaces where the prototyping team has outsized expertise.
Yep.
Second, where there is clear opportunity for innovation. The third, where players have shown strong interest in experiencing something new.
Yeah.
I really like this because again, I hadn't seen a list like that seemed so grounded in both practical and product approach to game development. So I'm curious, having said that, and with some, the shortest TLDR ever of your article, but like,
Sure.
How do you think about prototyping game? Why did you end up here?
It's an interesting question. I think one of the things I realized early in my career, remember I started as a game designer, was that I don't think I have a whole lot to say as a designer. I've worked alongside a lot of really, really, really talented designers. I'm not gonna go into the list because it's kind of crazy, but I've definitely had the privilege of working alongside some really talented folks, and they were all really strongly opinionated about the kinds of experiences that they wanted to make, and they sort of oriented their careers in such a way as to make those games. And I could feel them doing that. As I was sitting alongside of them, I could feel sort of that like gravity pulling them towards these experiences that they felt really strongly about. I did not have that. I didn't have that inner voice that said, "Hey, this is, my dream game, the thing that I sort of go home at night and tinker on." I just didn't have that. What I did have was a strong desire to make players happy with the games that I made. And so I think what that led me to do early on in my career is try to understand what kinds of games that players wanted. So instead of, I guess, looking inward to sort of an inner voice inside of me that was saying, make this game, I really tried to turn my ear towards the gaming audience at large, and I tried to understand what they were asking for. Um, and so I think that ultimately is why I ended up in product, because
Mm-hmm.
product is really a role on teams where you're looking for game opportunities. You're trying to understand player taste and player trends, and you're trying to orient product to meet that demand instead of design. And I think, and this is a little um, personal, and I'm not going to go into like any individual case, but I've just seen a lot of really awesome teams who have really strong um, competencies around making like really specific and amazing experiences. Put that down to go chase, some other opportunity, um, and struggle. And I think there is a lot of value to be had in our industry if we try to aim game teams that are really good at making certain experiences at those audiences who are looking for them.
Yeah, I also won't name anybody, but I've also, especially in the consulting work, seen that same thing where, for whatever reason, because it seemed like a really good idea on a piece of paper or something, a team kind of starts running or starts, and they've perhaps already hired or are hiring, and what they're actually start going for is not the people that they hired. And
Yeah,
it's part of me goes like, well, that's okay if you're small enough, but
sure.
you're gonna pay a cost to learn that,
Yeah,
and that's burn rate. And if you are already, 20, 25, 30 people, and now and you're making a game in Unity and nobody knows how Unity works. Well, now
sure.
you're collectively paying the cost of like, well, we didn't have anybody who knew anything about Unity, so we're having to just, Google YouTube videos about how Unity works rather than just getting to like dive in there and iterate. And that was something you focused on heavily. Um,
Yeah,
in the article, you said around that first point of like, can we target something that this team already has outsized expertise in? And part
yeah,
of that was related to that idea of like iteration,
right.
and just rapid prototyping.